Which European countries are actually the best for getting a second passport in 2026? Which ones do we not recommend? And which countries do people keep coming to us from, asking to be relocated somewhere else? Despite all the headlines about Europe tightening immigration, getting an EU passport is still entirely possible. It takes time, effort, a meaningful amount of money, and a genuine move to the country where you want to naturalize. Let's go through all of it. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Wise Move channel. I'm Eugene, one of the founders of our immigration agency. When it comes to second passports, the situation in Europe is constantly shifting. Every week you hear that one country closed its borders, another reintroduced border checks it hadn't run in years, a third changed its immigration law and added new restrictions, but for the most part, especially from the perspective of someone relocating to Europe, a lot of that noise is just noise. In 2024, my own residence card expired and I had to get a new one. As someone who renewed a Spanish residence permit, I can tell you the process has never been simpler. It took about 7 weeks. The criteria were straightforward and document preparation took a week or two at most. From signing with a client to that client holding their residence card is realistically 2 to 2.5 months. That's fast. Obviously not every EU country offers that. And Spain, where I live, is actually far from the best country if your real goal is citizenship, for several reasons. So let's break down which countries are best for that in 2026 and, more importantly, who each one is right for. At Movely, we've long maintained a comparison table of the most promising EU countries for residency and citizenship. Let me walk through the columns we track. First, cost. That includes our service fees for getting the initial permit plus the additional program-specific expenses. Second, time to relocate. How many weeks or months pass from signing to actually being able to move. Third, the duration of the residence card itself, which can matter a lot. Fourth, how long you need to live in the country before you can apply for citizenship. With the important caveat that after you file, it still takes time to get a decision. Sometimes 6 months, a year, occasionally a year and a half. Fifth, whether dual citizenship is allowed, important, because most of us don't want to give up our original passport. And finally, whether the country is part of the EU at all. The programs fall into a few groups. The first is entrepreneurial route, for people opening a business, or at least telling the authorities they intend to, even if they don't necessarily develop it long term. The second is digital nomad visas. There are more than 3 EU countries offering these, but as of early 2026, the others offer significantly worse conditions than the ones we focus on. Then there's the UK's Global Talent Visa and Germany's Opportunity Card. Let's start with France, which is the top country for a second passport. And you can see it in the table. There isn't a single red field. You can relocate relatively quickly, 5 to 6 months on the startup visa, 3 to 4 months through company registration. The residence card is issued for 4 years, the longest initial permit anywhere in the EU. And here's something not written in the table but worth knowing. France, like Spain, is one of the few European countries that doesn't actively monitor whether residents are physically in the country. What that means in practice is that if you later decide to leave France and live elsewhere in Europe or outside the EU entirely, your residence card keeps working. At least for now, there's no procedure for revoking a card that's already been issued. The residency requirement for citizenship is just 5 years. Dual citizenship is allowed. You keep your original passport, and it makes no difference if your home country is under sanctions. And of course, France is in the EU. Spain, where I live, also has a startup visa, but the more popular route, the one I used myself and the one we usually recommend, is the digital nomad visa. Spain looks good too. Significantly lower cost than France, much faster timelines. But there are real trade-offs. You need 10 years of residence before you can apply for citizenship. The application review is likely to take longer than in France. And dual citizenship is not allowed. When you apply for a Spanish passport, you have to provide proof that you filed to renounce your original citizenship. Now let's talk about who each country actually suits. With France, you'll notice the only routes are entrepreneurial. But as I mentioned, that doesn't necessarily mean you'll be running a real operating business. We help a lot of clients develop a business plan that we submit to the Ministry of Economy. They then register a company on the basis of that plan, but no active business is actually run. The company exists to satisfy the criteria for getting and renewing your residence card, and eventually for naturalization. It also gives you a vehicle to declare income in France, which you'll need if you're planning to get a French passport. So France is the right choice for people genuinely committed to the 5-year path and the strong passport at the end of it. Spain, on the other hand, is better suited to people who just want a residence permit without the commitment. You get a 3-year card for your entire family in about 2 months. You can use it essentially as an unlimited multi-entry Schengen, coming and going from Europe as often as you like or as a backup option. If something suddenly happens in your home country, you can take your whole family, fly to Europe, and live not just in Spain, but in any EU country you want, with no restrictions. So Spain Spain is less about a fast passport and more about flexibility, security, and speed of entry. Whatever your goals, the right country depends entirely on your situation, whether you want the strongest possible passport, the fastest entry, or just a reliable fallback. Book a free consultation through the link in the description and we'll help you find the program that fits your specific case. See you in the next one.